大家好，我是 Fiske。今天这集是一个很特别的主题，我邀请到 Henry Rich 本人来跟大家分享。Henry 在我前阵子解说过的北美国际赛，用一个超级特别的万针鱼队上了直播周2次，而且最终成绩也非常好，拿到北美的8强。我相信很多人除了对他的万针鱼有印象以外，对他个人可能也蛮有印象的，因为他上直播桌的笑容超级灿烂，跟一些表情比较严肃或紧张的选手比起来，就显得非常的活泼，感觉是非常享受游戏还有参加比赛的过程。另外，我也整理了一些 Henry 的比赛经历，包含他在连续2年的北美国际赛，以及多次在澳洲的各个地区赛拿到很好的成绩。我们今天会跟 Henry 聊他的队伍，他准备跟参加比赛的过程，以及一些关于他个人的有趣经历或看法。那接下来就欢迎我们今天的来宾哦。So Henry, can you say hi to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Henry, I'm an Australian player. I've been playing competitive Pokemon since about 2015. When I first started I was not very good. I thought I was really good. Turns out I was very wrong. My first tournament, I don't think I won a single game. But kind of just meeting people that were also interested in Pokemon and had an amazing time at the tournament. Kind of made me want to keep playing and learn more. So for a while I read team reports, watched some videos on YouTube of other people playing, tried to learn, and eventually it paid off. I started getting better results at tournaments, and now that's taken me all over the world, which has been an amazing opportunity that I know not everyone really gets to do, but seeing more and more people get to do that now as well has been so cool.
Thank you so much for joining us. We have a few questions regarding you and your team. People are quite interested in your Calgary Overgrowth team, so be prepared for a long first question. In your NAIC Top 8 first match against Edward Cunha, Calgary faced challenge from priority moves like Grassy Glide and Thunderclap, so we know many Tailwind Calgary team in the Regulation G include a teammate to prevent priority moves to ensure Calgary can use the water spout with full HP. How do you typically handle opponents' priority moves, and what led your decision not to include such a counter in your team?
So I was actually, after the tournament, looking at adjusting to Serena for that exact reason. The biggest issue that the team had in general was the priority, specifically from Raging Bolt and Rillaboom. Generally what I had to do in that was try to use Volcarona as well as I could, specifically into the Raging Bolt, because redirecting the Thunderclaps is really important, but I can't really redirect the grass moves coming out from Rillaboom. One thing that I kind of used to my advantage, which might seem a little bit odd, a little bit strange, is at tournaments like that, you're generally versing very high skill players, and those players tend to understand that I shouldn't be leaving myself in a position that's very vulnerable to what they can do. A lot of the time, I led Kyogre into things like Rillaboom, Raging Bolt, and took advantage of the fact that I should be switching it out, I should be protecting it, I should be making sure that the Kyogre stays safe, and essentially just baiting them into targeting what's next to it, trying to shut down the Tornadus and my speed control, and getting big hits off when I can. In game 1, I didn't do that so well. I got very overwhelmed very quickly by the priority moves. Game 2, I really needed to try to get off some big damage against the Raging Bolt as quickly as I could. And I brought that game a lot closer, but Eduardo, a phenomenal player, he got a really good call on me on the last turn.
You chose Terra Poison for your Overquell. Was this mainly to build Conscious Power? In which matchup do you usually go for Terra Poison? And what Pokemon are you targeting with the build?
So in that game, the Terra Poison was absolutely to boost the Gunk Shot. Depending on the bulk on Raging Bolt, it can knock it out in one hit. I was very sad to see it not, but the damage was really important for the rest of the game. But normally the Terra Poison was actually there for some surprise KOs on some of the maybe faster and less bulky restricted Pokemon. It was really important in the Kyogre mirror because if I Terra Poison, I can take a one-hit knockout onto opposing Kyogre. That happened in day 1. I actually played the mirror where they had Serena, and both game 1 and 2 came down to an end game of their full HP Kyogre and their full HP Serena against just my Overquill in rain. And because of that, I was able to outspeed and knock out the Kyogre and then just deal with the Serena afterwards, and it was really important. It also managed to get KOs on the Miraidon before they started running more bulk. So if for some reason Landorus isn't doing as well as I'd like it to in that matchup, I can rely on the Overquill as well.
It's from the same game during your second NIC top 8 match against Eduardo Cunha. You thrustalized your Overquill and used Skunk Shot against the opponent's full HP Raging Bolt. So what was your thinking behind the move? Did you expect it would be a one-hit knockout?
I wasn't expecting it to, but I was hoping. The big goal that I needed there was to get off some big damage before it got a Calm Mind off. Once it gets a Calm Mind off, it's threatening potential one-hits with the boost onto my Overquill with Thunderclap, which makes it really hard for me to get any attacks off at all at that point. So just getting that big damage off onto the Raging Bolt, putting it in range of kind of anything else, it's really important because whether I can get it with an Ice Beam or even putting it in range of something like a Wood Hammer from my own Rillaboom is really important because Raging Bolt's sticking around for too long, clicking too many Thunderclaps, too many Dragon Pulses, it can really overwhelm my team.
I play your team, and while playing that, Volcarona was rarely chosen, usually only against Calyrex Ice. The Kyogre Volcarona combo is pretty unique in the current meta. So what led you to include Volcarona in your team?
So one of them was definitely the Calyrex Ice matchup. Volcarona resisting those big Glacial Lancers and being able to threaten with Will-O-Wisps was really big. If they had Terra Fire, I have a Kyogre sitting there threatening really big water moves. But the other two reasons it was there was in combination with Terra Ghost Kyogre, it was a really big Zamazenta answer. Redirecting or burning the Zamazenta and stopping them from really being able to take advantage of the big damage that Body Press gives them. At that point, into Kyogre, they can only click Heavy Slam. Generally, they're burned, which means that's not doing any damage at all. And Volcarona's just kind of sitting there, taking Body Presses, burning everything. The other really interesting one was the Volcarona is there for Smeargle. I made a call going into that tournament that Smeargle would be very good and very popular. So I made it outspeed Smeargle by 1 point. Lets me Rage Powder away any spores, that sort of thing. But I think the biggest one was because they ran Terra Ghost or Terra Grass. If they're running Terra Grass, I'll ignore my Rage Powder. So the big thing was being able to outspeed them and side Will-O-Wisp my Kyogre, which won me a lot of games at that tournament.
Your team features a lot of low accuracy moves, including Hydro Pump, Gun Shock, Blitzwing Storm, and Sensor Storm. And how had this move performed for you during practice and tournament?
So earlier on in the previous format at Orlando, I was also running Tornadus and Landorus. Clicking Bleakwind and Sandsear did not do me very well there. But having Kyogre there with the rain makes those two moves at least a lot more bearable to be clicking. The big ones are definitely the Hydro Pump and the Gunk Shot. The night before the tournament, in practice, I think I missed 15 or so over about 10 games. I had a little bit of a freak out. I messaged some of my friends. I was like, guys, I'm missing too many moves. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can run this team. I think I have to change. One of my friends, because I was in America at the time, one of my friends back in Australia, his name's Lewis. He did very well this season. But he, an amazing friend, he stayed up with me for a few hours, very late into the night, and just practiced each matchup with me over and over and over again until I had enough confidence in being able to play those matchups without necessarily having to click those moves that I was comfortable enough to still run the team even with the risk of missing those moves. And throughout the tournament, as it came up, if I missed my Gunk Shots, I still managed to win the set, but any sets that I missed hydro pump in, I didn't go so well.
No worry, that's actually one of the part my audience like the most. They really enjoy when I miss the moves.
There are some really comedic times that it happens. I know at the World Championships, actually, that's just happened. I ran a Terrapagos team with Tornadus, but I didn't have Rain Dance. So the night before, I changed from Bleak Wind Storm to Air Slash because I wanted to hit a lot more. And in the first round of day one, I played against a Kyogre and missed every single Air Slash that I clicked. It was very, very unfortunate, but it was so ironically funny that I couldn't be upset about it.
I also recognize you used a rain team with Zacian and Kyogre when you won the 2022 Brisbane Regionals. Looks like you like rain team a lot, right? How do you normally decide on your team build for a tournament? And how do you normally practice? Did you practice with your friends?
Rain has always been something that I've very much enjoyed. I think back in 2015, the first team report that I read and really enjoyed featured a rain team. Since then, I've used Kyogre a lot more than I think I intended to. My favorite when it comes to restricted Pokemon has always been a Veltal, but I seem to always find myself pairing it with Kyogre. That regionals team was, I think, one of my favorite teams that I've ever played, and that Kyogre was just so much fun. But generally going into tournaments, there's often a lot of very good, very standard teams that come around, and once people kind of discover those, they lock onto them. All the top players like very much to use that really good, consistent team. They might make their own little slight variations to it. I'm a bit of the opposite. I like being prepared for those teams and using something that people maybe aren't as prepared for. Those popular common teams, people know what they want to do into it. If people are using it, they're very well versed with it, very well practiced with it. They really know what they're doing. And I like catching people kind of off guard with things that are generically good. So like with this team, it's got the Tornadus, it's got the Kyogre, it's got the Rillaboom, stuff that's really kind of a solid team. But then like the Overquill, Scarflanders and Volcarona, really anti-meta picks that people didn't really know what to do into it. They didn't have preset game plans. They've kind of got to see it in team preview and go, oh, I need to come up with a plan now. I know one of my opponents at the North American International Championships looked at the team sheet and saw Overquill and went, well, I don't know what that does. And it plays to the advantage, and it's just kind of the way I like to play.
Besides competing, what also did you do during the tournaments like regional and worlds? Did you go shopping or join other side events?
I think when it comes to the side events, I generally don't play in them. I used to when I first started, but I think now that these bigger tournaments have let me travel to all these different places around the world, I like to take advantage of that time to see where I'm traveling. A lot of these places I've been lucky enough to go with my girlfriend, so we'll try to either plan a week ahead or a week afterwards to stay there and kind of explore. In Hawaii, the first night we were there, we went to a luau. We went snorkeling, saw turtles, went swimming. It was an amazing time. Like Hawaii was incredible. Last year going to Japan, Mount Fuji. It's like all these amazing experiences. A lot of people tend to get a bit zeroed in on the tournament and the Pokemon aspect of it. But I think everyone who goes to these tournaments should definitely try to take at least a few days to appreciate these places that they're getting to go, because not a lot of people get to travel much, especially not for things like Pokemon or video games. The places that you get to go, they're generally so different to where you are that it's always worth seeing the culture, seeing just what's around.
So, if you could pick any Pokemon to feature in the next 7-star Terror Raid and have the mightiest mark, which one would you choose and why?
So I will definitely have to go with my favorite Pokemon. My favorite Pokemon has always been Regirock. It's generally been held as probably one of the weaker Reggies. Only really seeing play in Dynamax when we were playing the Players' Cup online. But back in 2018, I built a Salamence team that was kind of based around Curse Regirock. And the Regirock was designed to beat the Mimikyu Snorlax team that was popular at the time. It was Belly Drum Snorlax with Psych Up Mimikyu. Because Regirock, without any boosts, lives a belly drummed high horsepower from Snorlax. And with Curse, I could underspeed it. And it was a good chance to use one of my favorite Pokemon in a way that it had never been seen before. And I managed to top cut that regional that I played with. And being able to do that with one of my favorites and see it do so well was so awesome. So yeah, if there was a raid for the Reggies, I would absolutely love to see that.
So Henry, we know you're from Australia, and Australia is really famous for a lot of special creatures. What do you consider your quintessential Aussie animal, and does it remind you of any Pokemon?
I think around the world, people would probably have to say the kangaroo. Personally, I would love to see a platypus Pokemon. I think platypus is iconically Australian. It's such a strange animal, which I feel like it's exactly what Australia kind of embodies. But yeah, I think most people would say the kangaroo, and a kangaroo is what Kangaskhan is designed after. So I think it'd be really cool to have something like Mega Kangaskhan coming back, potentially in future games. That'd be really cool. It's always been a staple Pokemon in the format when it's around. No, Kangaskhan's always been a lot of fun. Mega or no Mega, I'd love to see that coming back.
I actually heard Wombat before. Wombat is cute as well.
A Wombat would be so cool. I don't think there's anything too similar to a Wombat at the moment. I think it'd be very cool, yeah. I think the closest we've got to an Australian animal similar to that would be Shaman, which is a hedgehog, which is kind of like an echidna. But yeah, no, a Wombat would be very cool. Some of the Australian birds as well would be really cool to see.
We know the next tournament in Australia is in December. Do you have any plans to go to any US regional in the meantime?
I don't have any plans for regionals at the moment. I'm definitely not going to be going to the US probably until next year again. I think I'm going to miss out on Perth regionals this year. I'd like to spend a bit of time this holidays with my family. And I think I've thrown a lot at Pokemon over the last few months. The travels around the US took a lot out of me, so I'm enjoying a little bit of a break at the moment. But Brisbane Regionals is next year, I think around March or May. And even before I won Brisbane Regionals, it's always been my favourite regional to go to in Australia. The people there are amazing. Brisbane's an awesome city to go to, especially at that time of year. We'd always go swimming, or we'd go out. Everyone would join each other for dinner afterwards, and it's just an awesome atmosphere and environment. So I'm thinking of doing Brisbane next year, but up until then, I don't really have any plans other than the online tournaments, which I'm looking forward to there being a lot of them because they're a lot of fun.
There are many new players in Taiwan are looking for advice to get started. What specific tips would you give them? Did you recommend new players start with rental teams or build their own team from the scratch?
Everyone kind of learns a different way. I don't think I could speak particularly for what would definitely work for people, but I could absolutely go for what worked for me. What worked for me at the beginning was at least what it used to be reading. It used to be a lot of team reports, but now a lot of the team reports are videos on YouTube. I think watching those videos and using other people's teams to begin with is absolutely fine. You don't have to start out building your own teams, doing all this stuff for yourself. It's completely fine to use teams from other people, and it's great if they have explanations on those teams as well. They'll give their reasoning why things are on there, why they make plays they do. But after that, after you've kind of got a feel for generally just the mechanics, and because knowledge is such a huge thing in this game, you can sometimes mesh some of those teams together, make little edits to them of your own, things that you might think, oh, I don't use this as much, I might replace it with this, and see what works, what doesn't. Some of the earlier teams that I used that I did well with were two teams from different people that I liked a bit from here, and I kind of just meshed them together and came up with something new. And it really does work very well when you're starting out, because you may not feel like you can start your own team from scratch. But if you like things from different teams, a lot of the time, some surprising combinations from two different teams will work together really well.
And speaking about this, we know the new format Regulation H just started. Are there any Pokemon you are excited about to try?
Yeah, so a Pokemon I've always loved using is Tyranitar. We haven't seen a lot of usage from Tyranitar lately because it's predominantly used for sand and kind of taking advantage of those weather wars. For the first time in a long time, Tyranitar Excadrill, I think, is in a really good spot. There's a lot of rain going around, there's a lot of Trick Room. Tyranitar does really well into both of those with setting up sand, having things like Assault Vest or Clear Amulet, and the speed boost from Excadrill helping with things like Archaludon, which I think Archaludon, Pelipper, Rain is probably the best team in the format at the moment. It's definitely the one to beat. But yeah, I'm really excited seeing Tyranitar and Excadrill coming back. I think there's a lot of potential behind them. And I think it's a team that can kind of adapt as the meta goes on. I think there'll be a lot of different variants for it. Archaludon is, it's kind of everywhere. I think Aaron Zhang, Cybertron, has featured it on his channel. A lot of channels have featured it, and it's just been doing very well in the online tournaments. But Baltimore, I think, is the first regional that we've got for Reg H, and which is coming up this weekend. So I'm very excited to see what results that shows. I think there's going to be some pretty standard stuff. I think we'll see like Archaludon. I think we'll see like the Talonflame Goldango, probably some Psy Spam and Dondozo. But I'm interested to see, because I think there's going to be some surprising stuff come out of it.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the Taiwan Pokemon community?
I'm massively honored that everyone's enjoyed my teams and wanted to hear more from me about my teams, about playstyle and everything. It's been awesome to kind of be involved with this part of the community that I feel I haven't gotten a great opportunity to be a part of or involved with. And it's, yeah, I look forward to seeing more people at more tournaments. Like, with all these international tournaments happening, and I believe there's a new circuit that's coming out as well, and more opportunities, because like I said, back when Oceania was a wider variety of people, it was great catching up with everyone, and I'm really looking forward to getting those opportunities again. But yeah, thank you to you guys for having me here and for letting me do this, because it's been really cool.
Thank you so much for joining us. That's all the question for today. I really enjoyed the chat. We appreciate you taking the time to join us and share your thoughts. Wish you all the best. Hope you had lots of fun all the time and know that we'll be cheering for you.
Anytime. Thank you again for having me on.
最后我来补充一小段哦。结束以后，其实 Henry 还讲了一件事，他说非常欢迎大家私讯联络他，跟他讨论队伍或是问他一些问题，他都很乐意回答。所以如果你有在使用 Twitter 的话，记得一定要去 follow Henry 的账号，我会贴在画面上面。而且如果你喜欢这次的访谈，记得一定要在这个影片点下喜欢。下次见，大家拜拜。